Hi, folks. Welcome. This is the post API Days recording. We're going to show kind of what we showed at API Days. I'm Simon Redfern, CEO of TESOBE, founder of the Open Bank project. This is...
Yeah, I'm Nemo. I'm leading the AI team at TESOBE.
Cool. So, so about Open Bank project, we have some slides. Let's see. Thanks for joining, folks. We're going to show a few slides, then we're going to show OP1, then we're going to show OP2. The title of this talk, Tell Me, Give Me, Show Me. Okay, but the basic idea is that we are interacting with APIs in a conversation. And the end goal is to kind of also create interfaces in real time based on the data that's returned and our conversation with Opey. So we know that there are many APIs around the world, and that is a lot of structured data. At Open Bank project, we have over 500 APIs in our own Open Bank project catalog. Obviously, we have other regulated standards as well. And Open Bank project is API-driven system. The documentation is kind of automatically built into the source code, so it should be consistent and it should be always up to date. So OP1 kind of fell out of this potential in a sense, and it's a kind of emergent property of our API system and the capabilities of ChatGPT. Right. So first, I'm going to show you our OP1, which is on our API Explorer. Let me just see if I can change my screen. Okay, so I'm running this stack on my local host. We have API Explorer here. We have all the Open Bank project endpoints down the left-hand side. And I can say, so if I'm new to Open Bank project, I might be able to ask it a question like, let's just see, what is a bank in OBP? So this is a new question. I've never asked this to Opey, so let's see what it's gonna tell us. We have the familiar waiting scenario. Okay, so it is telling us some information from now. Opey knows about our endpoints, our Swagger documentation. It also knows about our glossary, which is kind of terms and so on and so forth, and obviously it has the English language capabilities and so on. So it's given us an answer, and now I can ask it more like an endpoint type question. How would I create a bank in OBP? Now it's thinking about it and giving us an answer back. Oh, there you go. So it's found the right endpoint. It's telling us about the fields in the JSON and an example request, etc. So what can I? I'm not sure if there's a. Can I suggest another example?
Ask it how to do that in Python.
Ah, okay. Okay, so here I can say, how would I do that in Golang? I guess the interesting thing is I'm using how would I do that? So it has the context of the previous conversation in terms of I didn't need to repeat that I wanted to create a bank or something like that. So yeah, it has the conversation, and we're streaming this response, right, Nemo?
Yeah, so it's dependent on OpenAI's capabilities, but you can also switch the model to having a different model provider or even running locally.
Okay, cool. So we've got our we've got our source code in Golang that we could try. So let's just ask one more question. What's the difference between a customer and a user in OBP? So this requires some kind of some kind of knowledge, right? Yeah, I would just say that I've been like pleasantly surprised with basically Opey has reminded me of things that I'd forgotten about, which are in OBP APIs and so on and so on and so forth. Let's see. Yeah, it's correct. It's a good. Actually, it's a pretty damn good answer. Actually. All right. So that was OP1. You can have a look at it on API Sandbox on openbankproject.com. And now we will switch to like this. Yeah. Now we will switch to talk about OP2, which is obviously an evolution of OP1. But the idea is this becomes more of a agent, so it can carry out actions. Do you want to talk about it a bit, Nemo? Or would you want to?
Yeah. So the idea here is that basically OP1 is purely informative in that it's a basic retrieval augmented generation. So it gets some documents that are relevant to whatever the user's question is, and then it answers depending on those documents. What's different with OP2 is it's going to have access to tools to actually make requests to our API. So I guess we can, yeah. So, I mean, the reason it can do this is because our API, and actually, a lot of APIs are documented as being machine readable. I mean, this obviously there's natural language. The way you interact with large language models is through natural language, but they also like machine readable JSON or Open API or Swagger formats. So basically, you can kind of tell it the schema of how your API works and get the right endpoints for the job, basically. So if I share my screen, if that can work, yeah. Here we go. Yeah.
Okay. Said that, or
no, I think it's showing it. Yeah. So here we go. So the first thing I can be like is, okay, what banks are available on OBP? So the banks available, obviously these are not hard coded, but these are created during our hackathons or these kind of things. So it's actually going to make a request. So first of all, it's going to try and find the right endpoint for the job. And then it's going to attempt to make a request. Actually, it asks for human approval, which is important, and we'll get to later. So you have to approve this request. And then it's going to get us a bunch of information of what banks are available on our API sandbox. Yeah, okay, so say now, okay, I want to create an ATM. Okay, let's create a customer actually at Santander. Can you create a new customer at Santander? Let's have a look, see what it says. So again, it's finding the right endpoint to call here. Yeah. Okay, so it needs a little bit more information from us. So obviously this customer needs to have a name. So it's basically asking for required parameters. Yeah, so that's good. Okay, so maybe so we need to provide a name. Create a customer with a name, I don't know, Bob Jones. I don't know, that's a relatively generic name. Oh yeah, okay, so so it's taking the information it's already got and it's going to make this request for us. So yeah, so this is important, right? So we need to okay, yeah, so it's actually made a slight mistake, which is good that it knows. Well, okay, so maybe I'll talk about this approval thing first. So basically the reason we need to approve is because you don't want to just make post requests and make changes on the database without first verifying what the LLM is doing. Because it's non-deterministic, it's actually hard to tell what it's going to do, and it won't do the same thing every time, right? So in this case, rather than taking the bank ID for Santander, it's just put in the name. Maybe I can wrangle it to make it find the bank ID. I'm not sure about that. Have a look. Okay, so it's going to find attempting. Okay, so here we go.
Oh yeah! Wow, and it's even saying, okay, now I'm going to use that to create a customer. So it kind of understood what we were getting at in a way.
Yeah. It's like self-correcting.
Slightly scary.
Slightly scary. Yeah. So if we approve that call again, and then yeah, so now we've created a customer, which is good stuff.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Can we try and get that customer back?
Yeah, we can do. Why not?
But just try and query it by the phone. I don't know what APIs we have for that. By the phone, by the legal name, maybe.
Legal name?
Yeah.
Possibly. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe we can ask if it's possible first. Can we query customers? Actually, you know what? We can just check what customers are at Santander.
Okay.
My typing skills not so good at this time.
You never add a question mark at the end. Does it always assume it's
no, I mean, I'm a bit rude, to be honest, but I should probably say please a bit more. Oh well. Okay, yeah. Okay, so this is flagging something. So another reason why this is actually more secure is that you can't just execute any request, right? You actually need on the back end, and this is an OBP thing, is you need the right roles to be able to make requests to certain APIs. I actually don't have this role, so I think we're probably not going to have time, but you you can actually, depending on your permissions, say you were the admin user, you can also use this chat interface to grant roles to certain users.
Yeah, but the basically the point here is that this is operating in the context of in the security context of the user using the using Opey, right? So
so actually you can see the output here is that we got 403 unauthorized from OBP, saying that we're missing this role to actually be able to get the list of customers at this bank. So basically, you can't just, the LLM can't even do whatever it wants. It's limited to basically whoever's logged in.
Which is good. But earlier we gave the permission to create the customer, right?
Right, so should we move back to the slides and then show a bit more of the architecture? I mean, this is the sort of text version of. Are you showing this actually?
Oh no! Now I need to share my screen because you were. Because you were.
We spotted that otherwise. Everyone would be confused.
Everyone would be confused indeed.
Right. Yeah. Good. So this is the basically text version of what we're doing, but like I said, so we're basically passing the Swagger defined API endpoints, or this could be Open API 3. I mean, crucially, this means that this kind of architecture can be applied to any API that has either Swagger or Open API documentation. And then we sort of do a similarity search.
So get in touch if you want us to do it for you.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. If offer integration. Okay, so this is sort of the diagram version of what you saw on the last slide. So basically, we split our whole Open API 3 spec into like one endpoint per document. Or we basically split it into the endpoints, and they each have a description. And then what we do is whatever the user's query is, say like, get me a list of banks, we do vector search. So basically this can get this searches by the semantic meaning of your question, by encoding both your question and the documents into basically vectors. Depending on your maths, you'll either be familiar with this or not. But it's basically a little arrow in a very high dimensional space, and depending on how close the question arrow is with the document arrow, then we can see how similar those things are. So this is basically how it works, diagram. So you take your user query. From that query and the rest of the conversation, you come up with an actual question. So obviously you have all of the messages in the conversation. From the last user's question and all of those messages, you need to come up with a suitable question. So we use an LLM to come up with a suitable question to ask the vector database. Then you get a result. So you get actually top 5 most likely results, same as any kind of searching. And then back to the LLM, it's going to use that result and the schema from that result to make the appropriate tool call. So using the query and the sort of schema, make the appropriate call to the API, which the human has to approve, of course. And then you get that information back from the API, if you have the correct permissions and everything like that. And then it uses that response to basically answer your question. And obviously, if this API call is like a post request, then it's just going to sort of confirm that that's been done, that's been finished.
Do we have the kind of confirmation there? Is that in this diagram?
The confirmation. Well, this is just the response from our API.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, the response can be anything. Basically, the large language model, so the AI is responding to whatever. So actually, if it's a 404, it's going to be like, well, we can't contact the server right now. I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe try again later.
But what about the accept deny thingy?
Right, yeah, I actually missed that bit.
That's
here,
not
but
okay.
It should be in between here. There should be
okay.
sort of approval.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah.
Also, we're using a framework that allows quick switching between models. So, you know, with banking data, you don't really want to be sending that off to OpenAI. So you can actually easily switch to self-hosted models like Llama 3 and this kind of stuff. So this whole framework using LangGraph is actually model agnostic. So you can quite easily just switch.
Plus or minus some tweaks, right? Probably. But,
yeah, a couple tweaks to the prompts.
Cool. Good. We're at 21 minutes. So what else?
Talk about consents.
Oh yeah. So a little bit about consent. So actually, it's not built into this yet, but this is going to be using the Open Bank project consent mechanism, which is similar to Berlin Group or UK consent flow, with the kind of additional flexibility that you can have many more roles, right? So Open Bank project is obviously it started back in 2010 with the idea of giving access to giving customers access to their data, but it goes a lot beyond that, right? So you can have a role to create an ATM or to get as Nemo showed us earlier, get a list of all the customers on the system or on one bank, etc. And all these permissions can be put into consents. So in other words, if you're a staff member at a bank or some other organization, and you want to give Opey permissions to do just X, Y, and Z instead of A to Z, then you can do that, and and Opey will act in that security context, basically. Yeah, trends for the future. Yeah, I think the arbitrary interface is interesting, right? So we are kind of used to interfaces having to be like built very much in a grid with this field's here, that field there, click this button to do that. But I think we're already seeing like more kind of conversational type interface, but also something we're interested in is these buttons that you're still going to have buttons on interfaces, right? But these buttons will be more like prompts or kind of pre-configured prompts, which then can be like followed up or something like that, right? So you might have a prompt button which says, list me the customers who registered in the last 3 days or something, and so behind the scenes, that will be a prompt, and then OP will get the data back, and of course you can kind of cache. There'll be lots of caching going on, I guess. So caching of approaches, and one thing we didn't really show was this kind of thumbs up or thumbs down, right, Nemo? So like will be like giving a thumbs up if it's a good response, and I think this will be going kind of into the interfaces as well. But we can, in the end, we can imagine an interface which is much more fluid, much more dynamic. We can say, oh, can you make that smaller, and then the interface will just do it. Or can you make all the new customers green and make all the old customers red, or something like that, and the interface will do it. So we'll have like much more kind of dynamic, fluid interfaces, I would say. And so here we've talked about agents kind of in the back office, but obviously we can also imagine agents in the front office, or facing a customer. So like could you, sorry, I need to pay my piano teacher, can you do it? And then the agent would sort out which way to do the payment, etc. etc. Any other comments, Nemo, or are we?
I think that's it. Yeah.
Lessons so far. Yeah, we had several pleasant surprises, I suppose. Like really interesting little things which I'd just kind of forgotten. We've already improved the APIs because we realized, oh, we don't have that endpoint, we should have that. Or we don't have this query parameter, we should have that. Yeah, we're definitely still writing code. Yeah. Anything else, Nemo?
Yeah, I mean, I guess one of the most pleasant surprises is Opey often self-correcting. Like we saw a little bit there where it didn't realize that it had the wrong the wrong bank ID or whatever. Sometimes it will do that, and then it will run a search by itself and like realize, oh right, or it sometimes sends the wrong JSON format, gets a response from OBP and then corrects it and sends the thing again. So it's quite smart, and it's probably quite not difficult to program, but we didn't ask it to do that. So
and I guess this is using RESTful interface, right? But obviously we can imagine this for other interfaces such as SQL also. All right. Thanks a lot. Get in touch with us, openbankproject.com. See us next year at API Days Paris. Hopefully we'll be there again. And thanks a lot.
thanks.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.